are China and Russia teaming up to dominate space. During the Cold War, the US and USSR spent billions trying to outdo each other in the cosmos. But there's also a new player. Earlier this year, China announced plans to build a base on the moon. The project will be done with Russia, who recently filmed the world's first movie in space.
If all goes well, this launch will make movie history. Aboard that rocket, after a summer of training, are actor Yulia Peresild, director and cameraman Klim Shipenko, and cosmonaut Anton Shklyaplerov.
They spent 12 days on board filming scenes for their movie, The Challenge.
The Sino-Russian lunar project is one of the most ambitious missions yet. Dubbed the International Lunar Research Station, it will consist of 14 missions spanning decades. Beijing and Moscow hope to send the first crew to the base by 2036.
There is undeniably a Cold War-like battle for influence on all fronts, and that includes space.
We're in a space race today, just as we were in the 1960s.
China and Russia, having often been rivals, are joining hands to realize their respective space ambitions. So, Henry, what does it look like from Moscow?
Just in March, Russia and China signed a deal to jointly build a base on the moon and orbiting the moon in a really extraordinary announcement that really shows that Russia sees its future of its space program with the Chinese.
A relative latecomer to the space race, China has been pouring billions in a bid to catch up. The country's space budget has nearly tripled since 2014. Last year, they spent $8.8 billion, just under the entire space budgets of Germany, France, and Japan combined. In the same year, China became the first country to land a rover on the far side of the moon. They've also sent a probe to Mars and built the world's largest radio telescope. Now, when it comes to the space veteran Russia, one obsession has always been to be the first. In 1957, they launched the world's very first artificial satellite, Sputnik 1. Just 4 years later, Yuri Gagarin became the first person to enter orbit. Also in 1961, German Titov was the first to spend over 24 hours in space. 1963 saw the first woman in space, Valentina Tereshkova, and in 1971, at the height of the Cold War, the Soviet Union was the first to land a spacecraft on Mars. The US, which has been the leading space nation for decades, might have reason to worry. Although their total space expenditures last year dwarfed China's and Russia's, collaboration between America's primary adversaries has to be concerning for Washington. The Chinese-Russian moon base could potentially outmatch NASA's own lunar plan called the Artemis program.
But I think the concern here, if our intelligence agencies were able to talk about it, would be they're coming together for another reason, an unstated reason, and that is to weaponize space.
This space coalition between China and Russia comes at a crucial time. The International Space Station, launched in 1998 by the United States, Russia, and other countries, is nearing its 2024 retirement. It served as the largest hub for scientific research and space collaboration ever, but Russia says its participation is approaching its end. And with Moscow joining hands with Beijing, many analysts are worried that space is once again being fractured into competing camps. Adding to that risk is the further militarization of space.
You disable a country's satellite network, you disable a country. That's the simple fact. And you can see how some of the superpowers, some of the other countries, you change a policy, you change a government, all of a sudden you don't want to behave with your friends or your enemies, and you can isolate, you can block off a country from accessing the other technology in the world.
Space has never been as accessible as it is today, and with the private sector joining in, space travel will become faster, cheaper, and safer in the years to come. But this technological leap is in danger of entering a risky world of competition, where one side will try to outdo the other. And if the last Cold War is any guide, things could get a little heated in the years and decades to come.